Hey guys, welcome back to RC Legends, and as always, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. And hopefully it's going to be a good one. So we're revisiting the Kyosho Lazer ZX-5. Probably one or two videos on this channel, definitely one, I think two, regarding this car. It's one of my favourite Kyoshos of all time. I just think it looks like how a proper buggy should look. I don't know, it just ticks boxes for me. And I've had a few of these over the years, and I've run a few of them, and I think they're fantastic. And in fact, on the channel where I think I've got a video of this running as well, just as it is with a standard radio gear. Now this is a ready to run version, and just it's a lot more basic than the actual ZX5 kit, but it's way cheaper, as you can imagine. But nevertheless, God, there's so much to go on at this. I think I'm going to do this video and the others regarding this build as a vlog. I'm going to kind of take my time, and I'm not going to be cutting and editing all the time. I don't think. I want to enjoy this, so I kind of feel there's so much to do to it that if it goes 1, 2, even 3 videos, but I spread them out, I think it'll be kind of fun for me. It'll be less hassle for me, because I can slow down and just take my time and enjoy and check everything over. I think that's my plan right now anyway. So as I said, Kyosho Lazer ZX-5, ready to run. The only thing this has got on, which is actually an absolutely cool thing, are the velvet kit shocks. Massive shout out to Keith over at RC Icons. He knew I'd lost a set in the post that I can't even talk about because I'm gutted. But anyway, Keith knew that. So Keith, being Keith, bought another ZX5 that had these shocks on. Sent these shocks to me. I took the old shocks off this, sent them back to Keith, and he put it back on his car to sell. Knowing Keith, he probably hasn't sold that car. I might be wrong, but anyway, so that's the only thing. But they're top shocks of this car. So many shout outs and thank yous. So genuine Kyosho ZX5 Lazer body and wing. Massive thank you to Robert for this. Robert came over to visit me from US while I was on a business trip, and he brought those with him, and decals as well. And Keith had already given me some decals, so between both I've got a full set of kit decals for it as well, which is super cool. Now before we get into all the carbon and alloy good stuff, I want to give a shout out to a company for these wheels, but also an apology to Dennis. So very long story short, it was ages ago. I'd asked Dennis if he could get me some pink TRF or some pink wheels to go on TRF car, because at that time I wanted pink wheels for my TRF 201 XM, the mid-motor one, and Dennis I'd also bought I think it was a Team Associated front end, which I was going to fit, which allows to put 12mm hexes on the front of the TRF, because they're not that standard. Anyway, he got me the wheels, and he contacted me and he said, look, the shop is donating them to you, which is just incredible. Now, this is Skycraft in Canada. I don't know, obviously in the UK you won't know them, but I'll put a link to their website and Facebook page, I think. But yeah, I've been sat on these for so long, and now they're going to go on a Kyosho, or I'm hoping they're going to go on this car. That's the plan. But yeah, just a massive thank you to Skycraft and Dennis for organising that. One last thing I will say about Skycraft is they've opened, I'll put some pictures up, they've built an outdoor track in Ontario. I'm in Kitchener, and it's probably about an hour and 10 away from me. I've not been yet, and obviously it's winter now, but hopefully next year in the summer I'll go. They're doing weekends, they've got floodlit, just super cool, so I'm really hoping to visit that. And if any of you guys in Ontario, roundabout Kitchener area and Niagara area, jump onto those links and join that Facebook group page or whatever it is, and hopefully I'll see you there next summer. So a massive thank you to Skycraft, and also a massive thank you to Dennis for sorting it out. Massively appreciated. Then the rest of these bits, I might as well now say this video is sponsored by RC Icons. Everything came from Keith. Everything. I didn't buy one bit of this. And it's absolutely crazy. I'm just going to go through these really quickly. And these are all free racing parts. And they're all the supposedly upgrades. So first one, we've got full aluminium steering set. Carbon top deck. Alloy battery mounts, aluminium rear suspension mount, rear aluminium hub carriers. Oh, this goes on. Aluminium turnbuckle mount, aluminium rear brace, aluminium front brace, aluminium turnbuckle mount for laser, so that's front and back, that's why there's two of them. Pre-racing, aluminium rear suspension mount. I'll leave that one for now. Front carbon shock tower. Aluminium front suspension mounts. And then, of course, the main carbon chassis, which is super cool. And that also comes with an under tray, which is massive, because a bit of a problem this car has is dirt getting in, especially where there's a cut out there, and that's where the spur gear's open. And even if you run them on tarmac, I've had bits in there. I mean, you can seal it up with tape or whatever, but it's just, I think stuff just gets in there. There's a lot of gaps. So obviously the plan is to, when this is finished and into next year, to run this, because it's one of my favourite all-time cars. But the fact that it's got an under tray, it's just going to seal the whole thing, which is super cool. And then a massive thank you to Nick Walker, Mr. Carbon, as we like to speak to him. Keith sent him, these are the rear. Oh, I hope it's rear. Hang on, that's the front. Yeah, sorry, that's the front. These are the rears. Sorry, not much difference in size actually. Keith sent an original one to Nick in the UK, and then Nick made a couple. I needed one. I think Keith needed one or two. But anyway, I ended up Nick sent them all to Keith, and then Keith sent two to me. So I have a spare, which is just awesome. So yeah, you ZX boys, I believe Nick Walker now does the Lazer ZX-5 front and rear carbon towers, which is awesome. Top gentleman, Nick. And Keith, I know you'll be watching, my friend. I always say it, but I honestly can't thank you enough. And as you well know, and quite a few of you well know, I've been really looking forward to this. So, that's enough chat. I'm going to put the bits on the floor, we'll get the car over, we'll have a quick look at car, and then we'll just figure out how we're going to do this. Because I've got to be honest and up front, straight off the bat, I don't actually know how to attack this. Because we're basically building almost a brand new car, apart from the arms. And I want to do it in such a way where I can kind of enjoy it and see the carbon, starting with the carbon chassis and kind of build up. But obviously, we're reverse engineering this car. I ain't got a manual. I don't know. It's a bit of a suck it and see. So I just want to enjoy it, and hopefully, if I enjoy it, that'll come across in video, and you guys and girls will enjoy it. So let's get cracking and let's see how far we get in this video. Happy days. So before we start stripping it, there's just a bit of a sort of close up on the car itself. 4-wheel drive, shaft driven, just very, very cool car. And again, sorry to harp on, but it just looks like how I want a buggy to look. That makes probably zero sense, but I love the looks of this thing. So if you've not seen it, I'll take the top off and you can see what the sort of ready to run version looks like. So with the top off, as you can see, as I said, ready to run version. So it comes with the Perplex. Is it Perplex? Perfect Flex. God, again, I haven't got my glasses. Perfex Speedo electronic, and the G20 Kyosho motor. G20 single stock motor. Kind of cool because that's a cool motor to put in my motor collection actually. I know it's nothing sort of that special, but probably only came with this car, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, very, very cool piece of kit. As you can see, double chassis. I'm just kind of trying to visualise with all the alloy bits I've got, what's the best way of doing this, and I'm still don't know. I think the starting point for me now is just let's get the electrics out and wheels off, wing off, that kind of thing, and then we can have a look at it. I'm sorry, I'm kind of stalling a little bit. It's just that I don't really know where the best place to start is. Anyway, let's crack on. Right, bit of progress. So what I should have said earlier on was I'm building this with the view to run it. Yeah, I've not said that in this video. So as we're building it, the electrics will be going into it, which is really cool. Probably won't get it to run because I'm not going to take it out in winter, but when spring comes, this will be the first car that gets out for a run, and yeah, I am excited. So bits over here we don't need are the electrics, obviously the Kyosho Perfects, steering servo and speedo. But as I said, this motor will go into my collection because I kind of think it's pretty cool. I know it's nothing special. It's a 540 with a fan built in on the rotor, as you can see. I think it's a better wind than a standard 540. I should know that, but I forgot. I'm getting old. Shocks are off because I'm going to rebuild them at some point, change the oil out, just check them over. And then down here, so as I said, we've got the shocks. Those two screws are for the motor for the future. Obviously I've got the pinion, which is in great shape, and I've got the servo mounts out of the car. So obviously this stuff goes onto the new car. So car wise, it's kind of the first opportunity I've had just to kind of feel it all and see what it's like and how loose it should be, because that's important, because obviously when I rebuild it I've got to replicate what this is now. But yeah, super smooth. The overall drive, it honestly feels superb. I would imagine this is got full bearings in it, I would imagine. Overall drive, awesome. But when I go to the diff, it feels okay. And it might be how it's supposed to feel, I don't know. But no, the front's a little, I think the rear is a little bit grainy, but the front definitely feels grainy. I forgot to, I don't know if I said, even the ready to run kit comes with UJs as standard, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so that's pretty much that. I was checking out the steering as well. You do get a lot of steering on this. And although this is a standard kit, that is honestly really smooth. Feels great. Right. Yeah, I kind of not too sure what to do next, I've got to be honest. It's almost as if we want to take everything, bolt everything from underneath the chassis and kind of lift it off and then get the carbon chassis and start. No, because I want to strip it down as well. Yeah, I don't know. And I don't want to get in a muddle with this because I guess I could download a manual. Right, first what I'm going to do is get the carbon chassis and just see if there's any instructions or anything with it. So as I said, everything we're putting on is from Free Racing. Hardly, some stuff still available, but majority is kind of not, which is a shame. But as I said, the benefit, the beauty of this is it comes with its own under tray. Anyway, there's a little instruction thing there, so let's get it open. Right, so we've got some really extensive instructions with it, which is awesome. Graphite main chassis. That's it. Kind of would have done that by looking at it, but anyway, what's it say? Part number, graphite main for ZX-5. Anyway, under tray, so cool. Protective film on it. Anyway, that's for a much later date. And then obviously we have the main chassis. Countersunk. God damn, it's yummy. It's really yummy. Right, I'm going to turn the camera off, figure out what the best way of attacking this chassis is. So all I did was take the little rear bumper off, disconnected the turnbuckles, and obviously because the shocks are off, that allowed me to take the rear drive shafts out. Now, the really good thing here is, for me, you can just see that this has not had a great deal of use at all. In fact, incredibly minimal. They're in great shape, and the bearings are mint as well. So that's awesome, because as we do this, I might find bits that I need to change, but anyway, so far so good. So anyway, while I'm here, I think what I'm going to do now is take this rear brace off, which will allow the pins to come out, and that'll allow me to take the rear arms off. Right, rear arms off. Now, they're pretty much, no, I was going to say they're untouched. They're actually not, because there are some alloy rear hubs to fit to this. So anyway, yeah, that's cool, but the arms are pretty much done. This is a bit of a slower process because everything I take off, I want to put the screws back in so I don't mix the screws up, because that's very important. So arms off, obviously rear shock towers off, but I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. And again, the screws I've put back in on top of the gearbox for the rear shock tower. So I'm going to do exactly the same now, but on the front end. Right, so that's the that's the front arms, shock tower bumpers, and plastic mount, which obviously we're replacing. So what I'm kind of doing, this is the car front to back, so I'm just kind of putting it in that order, so I've got a rough idea of where I'm going. So this is where we're down to. So I guess for now, let's take the top deck off and see what that allows us to get into. Right, that's obviously the top deck off, and as you can see, alloy prop shaft, really free running. Here, I forgot to say, it has a slipper clutch on it as well, built in on that spare, which is cool. So looking at it now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to concentrate on the back end now. So take this, because a lot of these plastic pieces I'm taking off, we're going to replace with alloy. So I think what we'll do is we'll sort of just take this back end off from the top down. And then if I do that, I'll get to a stage where I can then hopefully quickly start putting it onto the carbon chassis, so I don't kind of lose my train of thought of where I'm up to. Right, so that's the sort of assembly, the three parts that bolt down on top of the diff, and that's the first time I've actually been in at this level. Absolutely dry as a bone, no grease in there whatsoever, but the teeth look in great shape. That's awesome. That's going to get greased up nicely. But yeah, I think we can't bypass this stage and not rebuild the diffs, which is messy. Obviously the ball diffs, so they're messy, but kind of feel that's what we need to do. So anyway, let me carry on with this stage and see if I can get this kind of all off. Right, so on this alloy motor mount, there's a little plastic bit that sits in and gets compressed with the other bits that go on top, but that holds the slipper clutch in. Now, when when I ran this, I remember that I don't really think the slipper was working, which that's in my opinion. I don't think it was, which means it was too tight. So this is like, again, first time looking at it. So I couldn't obviously move it, but I've just slackened it off, so I can just start to feel the actual clutch pads working. And yeah, I mean, this is something we can fine tune when we run it, but I did feel it was kind of important to start with it. Even if it's a little bit too slack to start with, then we can adjust that when we do the initial first run. But being too tight, yeah, I want to hear the slipper working. Don't think I'm going to rebuild that because I don't think it's done anything. Anyway, so back onto this. So in theory now these bits can come off and we can start transferring these onto the new chassis. Right, so that's the alloy motor mount out with screws, and the lower gearbox housing and the rear arm forward mount with the particular screws it comes with, or it had on it, and obviously now that's pretty much the back end done apart from these stanchions and stuff. So what we can start doing now is, what I'm going to do, where is it there? So I need to dig out the alloy one and then start building this onto the carbon. Right, just dug some of the bits out that we're going to be using soon. So that's the battery pass. Now what I didn't realise, when I took this bit off, actually, what do we call them? Aluminium turnbuckle mount for laser. So that's those side bits. Yeah, you know, it is different. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll do that as we get it. So anyway, that's got to go on. What else is there? And then big brace. That's obviously in alloy. And then the both rear, front and it sounds daft, but the rear end, front and back rear suspension mounts. So I've got the fronts down there, and they're just two alloy pieces together in one pack, where these are separate. So I'm guessing they do kind of slightly alter. And actually looking at that, I would say that's that one. They could be the same, I don't know. Don't think they are actually. Ah, no, okay, they're different. They are different. One's slightly wider. Oops, sorry. So yeah, I'm gonna go with this one. Right, let's start that process. Okay, I thought I'd just jump back very quickly. The first bit is on the carbon, obviously the motor mount, using the same screw as obviously the carbon's all countersunk. So I guess it's pretty much designed, unless it gives you new screws in with the various upgrades that we're putting on. But yeah, off we go. Right, I'm really enjoying this already. It is going to be, I feel it's going to be more straightforward than I thought it was going to be. So obviously we started with the alloy motor mount, then we put the rear suspension mount on, obviously alloy, and then the lower gearbox housing, and then we've just sat the slipper spur gear in there with this plastic bracket that pushes down into it, which keeps it all square. Super cool, lovely and free as well. Ooh, I'm liking this. So what would be next now is obviously to fit the diff, but as I said earlier, we're going to strip this down and put some silicone grease on, or whatever it's called. It feels a little bit free in my opinion, and a little bit grainy, but I might now spend half an hour doing this and it'll feel the same at the end, I don't know. But I think worst case scenario, when you're building something from the ground up like this, you want to make sure everything's re-greased properly. Right, so diff's in tip-top condition, but a little dry, but there was still grease there, so I've removed the diff plates either side, re-greased them. Unfortunately, I'm using Tamiya ball diff grease, but I like this stuff, it's good. And I don't have any Kyosho, so I've done that both sides. I've just put some grease around these balls. I'm just going to wipe it around and then do the underneath and put it back together. Right, I can already feel that that's made an absolute huge difference, re-greasing that. So all I've done here is I'm just making sure. So basically I've tightened the diff fully up. This is kind of rule of thumb, I believe, in my limited knowledge. But yeah, tighten the diff up, and then I've just backed it off a quarter of a turn. Then obviously with these two, I'm locking the drive cups to see if the diff's tight and the actual diff itself won't spin, and that won't. So I'm happy with that, because obviously you want the slipper clutch to do the work and not the ball diff slipping. But already now, that's obviously tighter than it was, but not really tight. But the graininess has gone. That feels really good, and that's only going to get better as the grease gets around there. Yeah, really happy with that. Right, let's bat on. Right, diff in position and greased up with Tamiya grease. But yeah, it's lovely. Obviously it's not clamped down, but you get the gist of it. You can actually hear the grease getting around the teeth of the gears. Oh, that's awesome. That is really cool. Right, so I'm guessing, obviously the top, I'll clean this out, but the top diff casing goes on, and then we need to figure out these bits, of which are in alloy, but the alloy bits are on either sides and not the bits across, so that's confusing me slightly. But anyway, let's crack on. Right, now I'm very excited. It's looking so good. So I've had to jump back on the old chassis, take those alloy supports off it, and obviously fit them to this. And then this kind of all goes down in one go, which eradicates that piece. Oh wowza, that is awesome. That is so nice. Now, I'm going to be a little bit critical throughout this video, but it's not really critical, it's not the right word, but sort of future plans like these here, which come on the standard kit. I need to deanodize those. I want those silver to match the rest of it. So it's not a big job to do at all, but there's also the prop shaft, which is, I'd like to deanodize that as well and get that silver, you know, polish it up. I might change my mind once the car's built, but I think to get as much silver on it will make it stand out a little bit more. But yeah, what I'm really happy about that is just like, you know, I've taken the time to look at the slipper, rebuild the diff, and you can just feel it's paid off because it's just way nicer than it was, which is awesome. Right, moving on. I think what I'm going to do now, let me dig this out. I think just while I'm here, I might as well. Do I put the shock tower on yet? Because obviously we've got to transfer this hardware and the wing mounts over to the carbon tower. But I am wondering, while we're here, because it's not going to get in the way of anything as such, do we just get that fitted or leave it off for now? If I left it off, what would we do next? I guess we could fit the rear arms. Oh, I'll tell you that's what we'll do. We'll leave that. What I'll do is rear arms, and then that'll allow us to fit the next alloy one. Sorry, I know this is not great viewing. That's the rear suspension alloy mount with 2 screws that it gives you. So we might as well get those fitted, but before we do that, let's dig out the alloy hubs that Keith sent me and see if they're going to be a straightforward change. Right, so that's the rear alloy hubs on, just in exactly the same position as the plastic. It comes with its various spacers, and I've put it in the same position as it was. The plastic hubs have 3 lower positions, whereas the alloy only have 2. But anyway, as I say, I've done it. Now there is one thing that's throwing me very slightly. So these are machined out for the bearings. So the front or the outer bearing just goes in as you would expect, but the rear is hanging out. Now it's not, I thought it was a fault and I couldn't get it clipped in, but it's machined out for the bearing to stop. Let me just put that in. So it's going to look like that. I've never seen anything like that before, you know, with all that bearing showing. It's quite strange. So, but I'm guessing that's how it should be, I guess. Right, anyway, let me just get those bearings back over there. So that's done. So yes, now we can fit the rear arms, with this, what would you call this? This is the rear suspension mount. Right, that's the rear arms on now. Forget what I said about those inner bearings. You just needed to not be a weakling and push them all the way in. So apologies, I misled you earlier on. But yeah, you get the gist of lovely and free. Everything's just nice. What was I going to say? Oh, excuse me. I had to readjust the rear turnbuckles. I used the... Well, I'm saying I used the same settings. Maybe I didn't. But anyway, I've readjusted them. Obviously, we won't be able to line them up properly until we get some wheels on it. But I'll tell you the thing that stands out for me at this stage is just how free this is. It's ridiculous. There's nothing pushing back against you. Look at that. This is going to be one very quick car. I loved it before, but I've never done this with a ZX-5. I've never gone to this level. Ones I always bought, I just ran and put batteries in, charged the batteries and ran them as they were. But knowing this one's right, yeah, it's exciting. It really is. Lovely thing, absolutely. Anyway, Glenn, crack on for God's sake. So, what do we want to do next? Do we want to do... I'm thinking, should I just leave the shock towers off for now? And should we now concentrate on the front gearbox and obviously connect the prop shaft up and what have you? I kind of think that's probably the better thing to do at this point. And then at least we'll have... Yeah, that's what we'll do. So that's pretty much the back end done. So again, I went away from what I said earlier, and I've transferred the hardware over to the carbon shot tower and obviously fitted that to the back, just to get that sort of back end finished. Also added the little plastic rear bumper. But yes, you get the gist though, and this is only going to get better as well. Got the alloy steering set to go on it, but yeah, I'm kind of relieved now. I know it's not difficult, but I kind of wanted it to go as kind of straightforward as possible. And now I know this. Now I understand how the front end, apart from the steering's going to work. But yeah, as chassis go already, that's just looking awesome. And obviously, once we get those beautiful shocks on, oof, really enjoying this. Right, what is next? Right, my friends, I'm going to end this video here because I don't want these videos to be too long, and I've just did a rough tally, and this is probably 25 to 30 minutes, which is, for the videos I do, that's too long for me. Anyway, I made obviously on this video I made a super kind of long waffle introduction to what I was doing, and obviously when we're talking about Skycraft and stuff, so the video's taking a little bit longer, so apologies for that. But yeah, in part 2 we'll get the chassis finished, because now I know what I'm doing. But I'm just gonna, as soon as I've ended this video making this bit, I'm just gonna crack on and make part 2, because this thing is a little bit special, my friends. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching, and please stay tuned for part 2, coming real soon.